This is the Kata I4u Android smartphone. I'm running a benchmarking test just to kind of show you its performance as I talk about it. But included with the phone, they have the instructions, which are fairly basic. They could be a little bit better and more detailed. A warranty card, the wall adapter, a micro charging cable, a set of headphones with microphone, and then the pin for opening the SIM card slot, which is located here in the top. This is Kata's latest phone release here, and you know, it's similar in design to the i3 with some differences. It's slightly longer, about a quarter of an inch longer than the i3, and it has a little bit more rounder corners than the i3, so it's a less squarish design, which is actually a nicer design. I like this less squarish look with the metal trimmed on the sides. But unlike the i3, this particular i4 has a solid body design, meaning that you can't take the battery out. It's not removable. You can't add additional memory to the phone itself. And the SIM card, as I've already pointed out here, is located on the top with that slot with the headphones slot. Let me show that with the light kind of reflecting a little bit, but you can see the slot more or less. You know, I'm not a fan of the one body design. Some people may like that, but I'm not a big fan of that. And for me, that's really the biggest knock that I have on this phone. Although I wasn't really crazy about how the back of the i3 snapped into place, I kind of would have preferred that over this one body design, and, you know, and the lack of, you know, the ability to add additional space. I'm not a big fan of that either. You know, for some people though, if you trade phones every couple of years, you don't worry about changing batteries, or you don't really want more space for your apps, then this is an okay phone for that purpose. But the phone itself is made very well as the i3. It's solid, it's lightweight, you know, it's about 5.5 inches. Like I said, a little bit longer than the i3, but the dimensions are basically the same overall as the i3. The touchscreen is responsive, it works well, and the screen has a nice, as you can see here, as it's demonstrating, a nice bright display. You know, that's 1280 by 720. It's easy to read. It's the, you know, the video and things on here are crisp and clear and easy to see. Setting up this phone, you know, there's an immediate update for the phone software when I check the phone. I do that immediately before I check the phone, before I do anything with the phone. But this particular phone is pretty speedy. It has a 1.7 gigahertz processor, and it's quick and responsive with the apps I've tried. The Play Store is pre-installed, and you know, the apps downloaded and installed quickly. The one thing I like about Kata is that there's not a lot of bloatware on here, other than the standard stuff that tend to be on most phones. You know, this has a good amount of memory on board, though. It has 32 gigs of ROM, 2 gigs of RAM. But again, I would prefer having the capability of adding more if I wanted or really need it. I didn't have any issues installing the apps I wanted to for this phone, but again, I would have liked that ability. It found my wireless network easily connected with no problems. It's fairly speedy with that, and has a pretty good camera with a 16 megapixel on the rear and an 8 megapixel on the front, which takes nice quality pictures and video. You know, with those capabilities, I mean, that's pretty good quality for a phone itself. The phone itself works on most networks except for like Verizon and Sprint. I really kind of wish Kata would make a compatible version for those networks as well. I'm saying that for my own personal use, but I tested this on a different cell carrier. The calls were clear, and the phone has a decent connection and reception through the network. So Battery life is okay with about 5 hours of talk time. I mean, that could be a little bit better, but pretty good standby time. But of course, that always varies depending on how you use the phone. Charging time's about 2 hours or so, more or less. The micro charging port is on the bottom of the phone there. The speakerphone is actually pretty decent and loud. And although, you know, I don't expect high-end sound from, you know, my phone, this does come with a Yamaha speaker, if that makes any difference. But it does sound pretty decent. As you can see, I ran the benchmarks there, and I've done this a few times already. Ran the benchmarks just to make sure they were you know, where they say they were. And this, you know, benchmarks solidly between an HTC One and an LG G3 phone, which is pretty good considering the price range of this phone. And according to the benchmark test, this i4 surpasses about 95% of phones on general performance, 60% on game performance, and 50% on battery performance, for those of you who like those kind of benchmarking numbers to kind of see where this phone's at. For me, I think that's not bad considering its price point and competition in the name brand realm. This is a nice looking phone. It has some subtle aesthetic changes to make it look nicer than the i3, which I think it does. It looks and feels solid, and it's well made and performs pretty well in comparison to the other brands. I do like this phone, but and this is my personal preference, I'm not a fan of a phone, you know, including not being able to have external memory added. I don't like the one body design where you can't change a battery, and you know, I don't really like having a SIM card located on the outside of the phone. I'd much prefer it be inside where the battery and the additional storage would be. If you don't mind those things, performance-wise, this is a 5-star phone. Overall, for me, I rate this 4 stars.